Good afternoon, Samantha. How are you today?
It's been a busy Friday, I'll tell you that.
Okay, well, good. I understand. I worked in property management for a few years, so I do understand that it's lots of multitasking.
Yes, absolutely. Especially in a
Uh,
two-person office.
sure, sure. Well, thank you for allowing me to record this little portion of our
Oh, cool.
video, of our
Mhm.
interview. We chatted a little bit earlier today, and we talked about some of your experience and your getting my notes here and your leasing experience. So,
Yes.
why don't we go ahead and get started, and you can um, refresh me on that and talk a little bit about that here on our recording about
Okay.
your leasing experience and your affordable housing experience.
Okay. Well, yeah, like I said earlier on our call, my affordable housing was about 10 years ago at Palmetto Trace. I was a leasing consultant at the time, so I did all of the new applicants, processing them, sending them off to compliance, double verifications of everything, employment, all of that stuff. So it's been a while since I've been back in it, but I'm very familiar with it, of course, especially income qualifications and different counties because I came from Hillsborough County. I'm also it different. I'm also in a different county now. So every county has different guidelines, of course. So I'm familiar with that, even though I'm in conventional properties after my first property 10 years ago. So it's obviously all leasing is still the same, but of course with affordable housing, you're just verifying a lot more, double checking everything, paperwork and so forth. So, which I do
Gotcha.
on a daily, even at my current job.
Okay, and so you have about 10 years property management experience
Yes.
in total.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day is coming in, opening my office, of course, cleaning it if it needs to, going through my prospect pipeline, checking any new applications of any applicants that I've gotten. I don't have much availability at this property, so I don't have much, but I still reach out to people, let them know what we have, if anything might pop up. I daily go through my renewal list for the month to make sure people have renewed, signed leases, everything's set in Yardi. And I also set up for the following month as I do towards the end of the month. I set up for email blasts for pest control schedules, renewal letters as well for the following months. We reach out about 120 days out. Um, and that's it. Double checking if there's new move-ins, walking my move-ins, of course, if they're like today, two move-ins.
Hmm.
So I double check those too, make sure I have their file, paperwork, keys, everything ready before they come and hand over money and I give them keys. So it's pretty much it. Some days are
Hmm.
quiet with just answering emails, work orders, helping my manager if anything, if needed, and then posting money on a daily.
Okay, great. Yes, I liked how you had told me earlier that you didn't have the bandwidth basically to jump on the video portion of the interview because you did have to go and walk the property,
Yes.
which I thought was great that you have the time to do, or I shouldn't say the time, that you made the time specifically to
Sure.
make sure that the units were ready for the
Yes,
new homeowners or the new
absolutely.
residents, if you will. Okay, so we talked about the 2 years leasing experience, 10 years with Yardi, Rent
Mhm.
Cafe. You said you used Blue Moon.
Yep.
What do you feel like your level of expertise is with Yardi? Do you use it daily?
I use it daily. Of course, with me being an assistant, of course, I don't have access to everything.
Hmm.
But I use it for looking up residents' information. If I need to pull a report, for renewal report, we also do like a weekly report, for our company. So I do delinquency through Yardi, prospects through Yardi. I'm very familiar with Yardi. I'm even familiar with it, like adding invoices. I used to do that at my last company that I don't have as a role here. But I even know how to look up multiple invoices or previous POs for multiple vendors. I know how to pull those.
Okay, great. Do you also do property inspections and such? And do you send violations out at your
Yes,
property?
I do. Yes, I do violations. Simple, patio. If there's like a blind, we have like blind violations here. If
Hmm.
there's trash outside their door. I give everybody our first warning, of course, here. if for
Mhm.
any violation, but they do get a notice. I do the 30-day notices for rent. I do any 7 days for termination if needed.
Mhm.
I handle pretty much all the notices, and my manager, of course, she co-signs them as well. So,
Sure.
but I do all of that.
Do you know what your delinquency rate is for rent?
It's not as great, but because of 30-day notices, we're still under the CARES Act property. So right now, it typically, well, I don't know percentage wise, but we're at right now at the end of the month, we're like 21,000.
Okay.
And a couple of the people have assistance through the county. So we've been,
Mhm.
of course, waiting on checks for those few
Okay.
individuals. We just wish we could go back to 3 days. It would be a lot
Okay.
easier. But prior to
Sure.
COVID, my not renewal, my delinquency rate was fairly low, fairly low.
Okay. All right. Well, great. So what are you looking to do long term?
I want to be a property manager.
Okay.
I've been an assistant for a couple of years. I still don't mind being assistant if needed, of course.
Mhm.
I was a lease consultant for a very long time.
Mhm.
But my goal is to move up, of course, be a property manager and just do more than I currently do, of course.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. What do you think the hardest part of property management would be if someone were to pinpoint one thing? What do you feel is the most challenging?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say handling resident complaints. I
Okay.
would say that's one biggest problem. I don't think like anything else is harder, but I think that one is if they feel they're not getting the need from, anyone else and they want to go to the manager, of course. I think that is the biggest. And financials is what I've heard from my boss because
Okay.
she handles our financials here, and of course everyone's different. But she's been slowly kind of teaching me that. But I would say handling complaints that can't be helped before by anyone
Mhm.
else, or any like big report, like financials, a budget, stuff like that.
Can you tell me about a time that someone perhaps was not happy and how you went about to hopefully change that path?
Um, I, of course, ask them to sit down. You never want to tell anybody to calm down, of course, in this day and age. But
Hmm.
I just let them, at least, if they don't want to sit, I let them at least vent. Tell me what their problem is. If they allow me to help them, I try to do as best as I can and trying to rear them off of being upset. If the manager's available, she sometimes even comes out to kind of help. But it doesn't get too far. Um, and if it does, of course, it goes to the manager, but I try to make sure it's veered off to getting to that point. Because of course I can handle anything that's thrown at me, being in this field, of course. So I try not to get at least let it get escalated. I'm sorry. Long day and I'm mumbling, so I
That's
apologize.
okay.
Um, but um, but yeah, I tried my best to make sure to veer that situation and back to a calmly manner so everybody can figure out the problem and get it solved quickly as possible.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak
No,
with
of
me
course.
for a few
Thank
minutes.
you.
Don't hang up. We have a few more things to chat about. I'm going to stop
Okay.
the recording. Thank you.